community in the Sakbalon electoral area of the West District. Assembly member for the area, Honorable Abdul Razak Tiahison, said the district assembly is making efforts to address these concerns and called on residents to be patient while the assembly takes the necessary steps towards addressing their concerns.
Previous government and Anampahati DC and Kana. For the government in the car at this regard, Korana Sir Ambasuma, Tinder Coalition Aga at the coup, Coronama Ambatara Life, Tinder Coalition Aga at the coup. Antamanaka, but Jibba and Abana, a woman and Ananta Assembler, Katituang, Aquana Corona. As an assembler, in one of the banks in Chalaka, central government would like to the field direct pool hit Jala. Sana pool is in the Milan Assembler as young. Camp Nasaganaka, Katina Mountain from a Jala Catholic supports the Manga. Sinaba moving at the Anna Kurana. Return to the kindergarten easy commuting. This is the cooking Buhaka. Anna would never meeting the Australian and last year appeal chaining Kanangun Travel. And the printed in Indian. So, Darna and Navantinta in Kumbang Ayal Tafion.
She heard the voice of Honorable Abdul Razak Tiahison. He is the assembly member for Sakbalon electoral area in the West District.
And now, away from that, the Upper West Regional Commander of the Motor Transport and Traffic Unit, ASP Emilia Jiche, has revealed that a worrying trend in the region was broken down and abandoned vehicles parked on the road by owners. She said most motorbike riders, especially within the Wa municipality, end up running into the abandoned cars, usually at night without knowing. She therefore advised motorists in the region to usually minimize their speed, especially at night, to prevent such needless accidents and deaths recorded in the region. ASP Emilia Jiche made this known to Radio Progress in an interview on Wednesday in Wa. In a related development, the Wa municipality recorded 20 road accidents in the second quarter of 2017, as against 29 road crashes that were recorded in the first quarter of the year. Out of the number of accidents recorded in the municipality, 6 cases were fatal, 8 serious, and 6 minor cases. 6 lives were lost through accidents in the second quarter of the year, as against 16 lives that were lost in the first quarter of 2017. Most of the accidents reported in the municipality were caused by motorbikes, followed by private car owners and commercial vehicles.
Running into breakdown cars, articulator cars carrying fertilizers, breakdown cars. What you realize is that most of the youth, because most of them fail to observe the traffic rules and regulations, they just ride above the normal town speed rate. So by the time they realize, they've just bumped into stationary cars that have been passed. When we are riding, especially the riders, they should be very, very cautious. Other than that, we will end up killing ourselves. We should be very cautious with these cars, especially the big cars, the transit and then the articulator, the cement cars, and then the fertilizer cars.
You heard ASP Emilia Jiche in that voice.
You're still listening to Progress Amid the News. Senior Minister is asking the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana to help rid the National Health Insurance Scheme of fraud. Yao Osafo describes it as embarrassing corrupt practices bedeviling the scheme. At the opening session of the Society's annual General Conference, he said health insurance is fraught with underhand dealings. According to him, the involvement of some pharmacists, patients, and doctors leave much to be desired. He wants the Pharmaceutical Society to help devise a mechanism that can help minimize fraud associated with procurement of drugs for the National Health Insurance Scheme. As at March this year, the National Health Insurance Scheme was reeling under a 1.2 billion Ghana cedi debt. Service providers threatened to return to the dreaded cash and carry system to the disadvantage of over 11 million subscribers. Delayed payment of claims is characterized by fraud, sometimes perpetrated with the connivance of some scheme officials. Sanctions against persons involved in such fraudulent acts are said not to be deterrent enough.
And now, away from that, the National Disaster Management Organization has declared the 3 regions of the north as an emergency disaster zone following an alert by officials of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso to spill excess water in coming weeks. As part of measures being put in place to arrest any disaster that might occur in the Upper West, Upper East and Northern regions, NADMO officials will from next week pitch camp in Walewale in the West Mamprusi district under a special operation dubbed Thunderbolt 2017. Director General of NADMO, Nana Ajiman Prempeh, who announced this in Tamale today at a press conference, said his outfit is collaborating with the Ghana Red Cross Society, 48 Engineers Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces, as well as other non-governmental organizations ahead of the looming disaster that will be caused by the spillage. He also noted that victims of last week's flood in parts of Tamale and Sanarigu areas were receiving support in the form of food, blankets, and mattresses, and among others. Nana Prempeh appealed to the media to inform and educate the general public, especially residents of northern Ghana, to be prepared and be alert of the Bagre Dam spillage in order to put their lives in danger.
Still in the within the next 4 decades, researchers suggest. Writing in Lancet Global Health, they predict cases will rise from 36 million to 150 million by 2050 if treatment is not improved by better funding. A growing aging population is behind the rising numbers. Some of the highest rates of blindness and vision impairment are in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. The percentage of the world's population with visual impairment is actually falling, according to the study. But because the global population is growing and more people are leaving world into old age, researchers predict the number of people with sight problems will soar in the coming decades. Analysis of data from 188 countries suggests there are more than 200 million people with moderate to severe vision impairment. That figure is expected to rise to more than 550 million by 2050.
And away from the National Court of Arbitration of the International Chamber of Commerce has dismissed a petition by Ghanaian businessman Alfred Agbesi Wayomi over the controversial 51.2 million Ghana cedi debt owed the state. A cost of $5,000 has been awarded against Mr. Wayomi, who was seeking to defend the judgment paid to him by the state. The action he initiated at the ICC in March this year followed a last year's Supreme Court judgment that he received the money through fraudulent means, as there was no contract between him and the state, hence ordered to refund. Until Mr. Wayomi initiated the action at the ICC, he had refunded to the state a total of 4 million Ghana cedi out of the total sum. The court on August 3rd dismissed the case at the preliminary stage on grounds it lacked jurisdiction as per Article 6.4 of the court. That is, there can be no arbitration without an arbitration agreement between the parties. The court, in dismissing the application on Thursday, said the action by Mr. Wayomi failed to satisfy that rule.
You can also read more of our stories at Progress Online Stream Broadcast on streamghanaonline.com. Also, in more stories, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, paid a visit to the Hajj village on Thursday, August 3, 2017, to interact with key stakeholders, inspect facilities, and be briefed on arrangements made to ease the Hajj process this year. He was met on arrival in Taking Run by Sheikh I.C. Quay, Chairman of the Programs Affairs Office of Ghana, and other members of the board. Briefing the Vice President on progress so far, Sheikh I.C. Quay indicated that the first set of programs will leave Ghana via Tamale on August 10th, with a further 4 flights emanating from the Tamale airport. 8 flights will depart from Accra, he added. A total of 6,200 Muslim faithfuls are expected to undertake the holy pilgrimage this year. In brief remarks to stakeholders and prospective programs, Dr. Bawumia expressed delight at the ongoing facelift of the Hajj village, with the construction of permanent structures such as a clinic to cater for prospective programs, and commended members of the board for their efforts so far.
And our Let's Do has discounted suggestions that the country faces imminent threats of terrorism. This comes after some members of the public expressed anxiety over security alerts and notices shared by some embassies and high commissions in the country. The Canadian embassy, in its security alert to its citizens visiting Ghana, said that there is a threat of terrorism. Terrorist targets could include shopping malls, government buildings, public areas such as bars, restaurants, hotels, and sites frequented by Westerners. Be aware of your surroundings in public places. But a statement signed by the Minister of Information, Mustafa Hamid, said the alerts are only standard cautions and do not represent any specific known terrorism threat to the nation. He said the country will identify and caution the public on the possibility of a terror attack through its collaborating effort with international allies. He therefore urged the public to remain calm, saying the national faces no non-terror threats at the moment and remains safe. The minority spokesperson on foreign affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, had earlier asked the government to officially state its response to the warnings issued by both the United Kingdom and Canadian government. Mr. Ablakwa indicated that he found it quite curious that our government was silent on this threat and there is no alert levels being spoken of.
It's still Meet the News on 9. Welcome back into the studios of 98.1 MHz Radio Progress. It's still Meet the News coming from the business sector. The Institute of Economic Affairs IEA has made a recommendation to government to increase the 17.5% VAT by 1% to cater for the free senior high school project. According to the institute, the move will provide a sustainable source of funding for the project internally. The implementation of the free senior high school policy is expected to cost Ghana about 400 million Ghana cedis for the first year. Speaking at a post-media budget press conference, Senior Adjunct Research Fellow of the IEA, Dr. Eric Osei Asibi, warned that the project will suffer a major setback if it is not anchored on a reliable funding scheme. Dr. Osei proposed the need for a national forum or stakeholder workshop to design a sustainable financing for the free senior high school program as a matter of urgency. Dr. Osei argued that the decision to rely on funds from oil and gas may also not be sustainable due to uncertainties surrounding the world prices of the commodity. Breaking down the budget for the project, Dr. Osei stated that the 47% support of 188.28 million Ghana cedis from government, as well as the 211.72 Ghana cedi million from the annual budget funding amount are not sustainable. And that's it for our business. Our sports is up next.
Thank you so much for staying there. Now we do some stories in the world of sports. Former President of Ghana, John Agyekum Kufuor, has urged for calm when two of the most glamorous clubs in Ghana, Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra House of Oak, lock horns in a Week 23 outstanding fixture slated for the Baba Yara Sports Stadium on August 6. Sunday's epic clash promises to be a fascinating duel which lifted the tempo in both camps as they target to annex all 3 points, which could boost their title pursuit, and more especially for Kotoko, who will be playing their first competitive fixture after their tragic team bus accident some few days ago. According to the former President Kufuor, all stakeholders should prevent engaging in acts that will put the game into disrepute and further waste both sides well. That is all we have for you in the sporty side. Up next is news from elsewhere.
Where Rwandans are expected to go to the polls in presidential elections, with incumbent Paul Kagame widely expected to win his third term in office. The 59-year-old is being challenged by Frank Habineza of the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda and independent candidate Philip Mpayamana. Mr. Kagame is credited with the country's rapid economic development since taking office in 2000, but critics accuse him of suppressing dissent and political freedoms. Polls across the country opens at 7 o'clock and will close close at 1600. Mr. Kagame, who represents the ruling RPF party, has widespread vocal support, the BBC's Tommy Oladipo says. The president has even referred to the vote as a mere formality, correspondents add. Rwanda's constitution was amended in 2015, giving Mr. Kagame a chance to stay in power until 2034. The two challengers have complained that their supporters are being intimidated, which they say explains the low turnout at their pre-election rallies. The candidates have also accused some local authorities of undermining their campaign. The ruling party denies any accusations of wrongdoing. And that's it for today's edition of Progress with the News. Before we go, we take a second look at some of our major headlines. Residents of Table say they feel neglected by government due to the absence of some basic amenities.
Broken down and abandoned vehicles on the road, now a worrying trend, says Upper West Regional Commander for MTTU.
Senior Minister asked Pharmaceutical Society for support to check NHIS fraud.
NADMO declares Northern Ghana an emergency disaster zone.
Global blindness set to triple by 2050.
Wyoming thrown out of International Court of Arbitration.
Make Ghana proud at Hajj 2017, Dr. Baumia says.
And Ghana faces no known terror threats, says government.
And in business, increase VAT by 1% for free senior high school project, says IEA. We also brought you sports and international news. Join us tomorrow for This Week in News. My name is Adeline Conven with
Alassane Rasun Tajudeen.
Good afternoon.
Loud on Radio Progress 90.